Steals it. Havlicek's ball of ball. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Amici powers in.
Won their sixth NBA championship.
Gibson, swing. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable. Don't believe what I just saw.
Perhaps no human in human history has a more fitting last name that applies to their actions than that of Yvonne Ann Downing, who has gained mythical and cultural status by being known for downing bottle after bottle of wine. However, Yvonne's quiet and nondescript upbringing is just a small footnote in the legend she would grow up to be. As an only child, Yvonne became an immediate center of attention as the center of her parents' universe. She would go on to meet the eventual love of her life at a very young age of just 12. One night after a family dinner party turned into drunken charades, Yvonne would sneak upstairs into her parents' liquor cabinet and discover a bottle of the best French red wine. This love would conquer everything else in Yvonne's life from that moment forward. She would also meet her eventual husband Ken Downing around this time, as he became a secondary figure in Yvonne's wild, wild world.
Oh, I remember that great, great night. My parents were playing charades and they just got done around where they were trying to mimic a parade, and the opportunity came. And they say life is like a box of chocolates and you never know when opportunity will knock. What movie is that from? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Terminator. Oh, yeah. I love Sylvester Stallone. He's a hunk. Oh, wait. You want to know about my husband, Ken? Yeah, Ken's a cool guy. He put the food and the bread and the wine on the table with his job. He worked as a businessman, and he meant business.
Wyatt's downward slide. Press did everything he could to help her alcoholism and to help her get over it. I remember the day very vividly where he came in the office and was very upset when she went back to alcohol.
He had that contract and he had plenty of money, and
Ken would never quite realize just how secondary he was to Yvonne. And as their tiresome marriage raged on from the 70s into the late 90s and early 2000s, Yvonne's lust for more would lure her toward forbidden fruit.
Find it in the washing machine. Had a bottle of scotch down in the washing machine or in the dryer.
I think it made him mad.
Yvonne would spend many days in the sunshine, sitting by the pool outside her Langhorne home. The lust would grow and develop from her neighbor, a young adolescent scientist named Anthony Palanta. Yvonne's drunken inhibitions and alcohol-induced libido would cause her to prowl on the child and cause sexual experiences that we simply cannot openly discuss on television.
The things I would do to that boy. He was a scientist, and I think he learned a lot of things for science, such as, the human anatomy. And there would always just be so much
Ma'am, we cannot talk about this in the interview. We already discussed this.
I just don't see the big deal if we're just talking about Tony coming in my eye.
Ma'am, that is enough. We cannot continue.
And, in her own way, Babe was Jackie Robinson. She was the women's Jackie Robinson.
She lived in the era between the two feminist movements. We already had the right to vote, and we didn't yet have the era of the 70s and 80s where we started coming forward again with more feminist demands.
After countless incidents of adolescent fornication combined with optical insemination, Yvonne would be forced to leave the Langhorne area and travel down to Florida, where she would also require major eye surgery. Her husband Ken would try to make the efforts to stop the wine consumption, but was never successful. Shortly after the move to Florida, Yvonne and Ken would unofficially separate. Though still legally married, Yvonne would kick Ken to the curb in order to have more room in the house for her growing and never-ending selection of wine. Upon Ken's departure, Yvonne would have much more free time, where her rise to the top of the viral world would begin. Yvonne would create a blog and her own YouTube channel, where she would drunkenly discuss topics that she presumably has no real grasp or concept of whatsoever. She has become a cult icon and was sexually linked to the pop music sensation Prince before his passing.
Measure of social acceptance, especially in the Hollywood community. After watching her drive 240 yards off the tee, Bob Hope commented, "I hit the ball like a girl. She hits it like a man." The babe did hit the ball like a man, and for that she was ostracized. Fortunately, her message outlived her.
The future looks bright for the wild wino, and this Boothography is just another notch in the bedpost for a woman who broke the boundaries and opened up the gates for stardom for those suffering from alcoholism or drunkenly enjoy rambling in front of a camera. Where will the downing go? Only ups, not downs.
It's been a great ride, and can I please just talk about riding, Tony?
Cut it. We're going to cut it. Just end it right now.